All right, so we're diving into this mini habit stuff.
Okay.
You said over a ton of research on this.
Yeah.
And it's pretty interesting, this idea of like ridiculously small steps leading to big goals.
Yeah.
We're going to be focusing mainly on Stephen Guise's book, MiniHabits.
Right.
That seems to be like the main book on this.
Yeah, it's kind of the go-to resource on MiniHabits.
So I guess before we get into like all the details and stuff, can you just give us a basic overview of what MiniHabits even are?
Yeah, so basically they're like simplified, really bare bones versions of, the habits that you wish you had. Like instead of aiming to like read 50 pages a day, your mini habit might be reading just 1 page.
Oh.
And the reason that the small size is key is because it removes that initial resistance that we all feel when a task seems really daunting.
So it's almost like you're tricking your brain into getting started. Instead of like committing to a whole workout, you just say, I'm going to tie my running shoes.
Yeah. And then you end up doing more than you planned. Like Guise himself, actually, he stumbled onto this idea when he was struggling to get into a workout routine. He committed to just 1 push-up a day.
1 push-up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Which sounds ridiculous, but, that tiny action turned into a consistent fitness habit for him.
So it's really like something so simple can have such a huge impact.
Exactly.
How does this actually work in our brains? Like, what's the science behind it?
So there's this part of your brain called the basal ganglia, which is kind of like your brain's autopilot. It's the part that makes actions automatic after you've repeated them enough times.
Interesting.
So mini habits, by being consistent, they tap right into that.
So you're saying that by doing these small actions regularly, even if they seem insignificant, our brains are actually being trained to make them automatic.
Exactly. That's the idea.
Okay, that's cool.
And this ties into the concept of neuroplasticity, which is the idea that your brain is constantly adapting and changing based on what you do. So it's like working a muscle. Those mini habits are kind of like tiny little consistent workouts, and they gradually reshape your brain over time.
So it's less about like relying on bursts of motivation, which can be fleeting.
Totally.
And it's more about using willpower to just show up consistently.
Yeah, you got it. Willpower is like a muscle too. And mini habits don't require a ton of effort up front.
Interesting.
It's more about just choosing to show up consistently, even if it's for like a minute or 2.
This is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
Because it seems like that consistency is the key to sidestepping procrastination.
Exactly.
Which I think we all struggle with.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the starting point is so small that there's practically no excuse to delay. You're just eliminating that feeling of overwhelm. That often leads to procrastination.
I see that, like, you can't even tell yourself you're too busy to do 1 push-up or read 1 page.
Exactly.
It's almost like it's absurd to try and get out of it.
And that psychological shift is huge. It's a big part of what makes mini habits so effective. They remove that burden and they make it feel so manageable that procrastination just loses its grip.
I like that.
Yeah. Okay, so we've talked about like the brain science and how mini habits can help us overcome procrastination. But I think it's time to get practical. Like, how can we actually implement mini habits in our own lives?
Yeah, how do we do this?
Yeah.
From what I've read, Guise has like a pretty clear framework in his book with specific steps
He does
that we can follow.
Yeah, and it starts with like choosing a mini habit. The key is to make it what he calls stupidly easy.
Stupidly easy.
Like literally the smallest possible action that moves you towards your goal.
Got it.
So for example, if I've been wanting to learn a new language, but keep putting it off, my mini habit isn't going to be to have a full conversation in that language every day.
Of course not. Yeah, that'd be crazy.
That's setting yourself up for failure. Instead, it might be something like listening to 1 minute of a language learning podcast. Or practicing 1 new word each day.
That's a good idea.
So it's about making that initial step so small that it seems silly not to do it.
Got it.
Yeah.
It's like absurd not to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So once you've identified that, you know that ridiculously easy starting point, the next step is to make it non-negotiable.
Non-negotiable?
This is where the consistency comes in.
So like No matter how busy you are.
So no matter how tired you feel.
You do it.
You commit to showing up.
Got it.
For that mini habit every day.
Okay.
So even if it just takes a minute or two, that consistency is what lays the foundation for building that lasting habit.
It's like we were talking about, building that chain link by link.
Exactly, like building a chain.
Yeah.
And then to make that chain even stronger.
Okay.
Guise recommends tracking your progress.
Tracking progress.
Yeah, so this could be using a habit tracking app.
Right.
Or just like marking an X on a calendar.
Yeah, that's a good idea too.
Each day that you complete your mini habit.
It's just like a visual representation.
Yeah, you have
how well you're doing.
And it can be really motivating.
It is motivating. Yeah. It can really like...
It's a good way to like celebrate those little wins.
Yeah, even the small ones.
Big, like, oh, I did it.
Right, like even something as simple as just saying, yes, I did it. Okay. Or giving yourself a mental high five.
I like that.
But those little celebrations really reinforce that positive behavior.
Okay.
And keep you going.
They keep you motivated.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it's a reminder that those small actions are worth celebrating.
Right.
Because they're contributing to that overall goal.
They all add up.
Right.
Okay, so I've got a question.
Okay.
What if I, like, find myself doing more than my mini habit?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Is that okay, or should I, like, stick to the initial commitment?
It's totally okay to do more.
Okay.
Like, that's often a natural byproduct of this approach.
Interesting.
Like, once you get started, you might find you want to keep going.
Okay.
Like, let's say your mini habit is to meditate for 1 minute.
Okay, 1 minute.
And some days you end up meditating for 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Awesome, but not required.
But it's not required.
Okay.
The goal is to
Got it.
establish that consistent mini habit, not to like exceed it every time.
Okay.
Right?
So the extra is a bonus.
The bonus effort is a bonus.
Got it.
It's not a requirement.
Okay.
Don't pressure yourself to go above and beyond.
Yeah, especially at the beginning.
Especially in the beginning.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, it takes the pressure off.
It does.
Right.
Like, I'm just showing up for this little thing.
Right.
And that's enough.
And that's enough.
I don't have to like...
You don't have to achieve this.
Yeah.
You know?
Grand outcome immediately.
Grand outcome immediately.
I like it.
Right. And that mindset shift can be really helpful when it comes to dealing with procrastination, like we talked about.
Right.
When you break down a task into these bite-sized pieces, it feels so much less daunting.
Yeah.
Right.
Instead of writing a whole chapter, I'm just going to write for 5 minutes.
Exactly. And because that starting point is so small, you're way less likely to procrastinate.
Right.
You're tricking your brain into getting started.
Okay, I get it.
And once you're in motion, it's easier to keep going.
Okay.
So this ties back to that idea of momentum that we talked about. Like those small wins achieved consistently start to build this positive feedback loop. Yeah. It's like a snowball effect.
Okay.
You feel good about accomplishing something no matter how small.
Right.
And that success fuels your desire to continue.
Right.
And then as you experience those small wins consistently, your confidence grows.
Confidence grows.
Yeah. Okay. And you start to believe in your ability to achieve bigger things. Yeah. Because you're proving to yourself day after day.
Proving to yourself.
Yeah, that you can follow through.
Okay.
Even on those days when motivation is low.
Even when you don't want to. Yeah, that's powerful.
It's a powerful shift in perspective.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and it speaks to those broader benefits
of
incorporating mini habits into your life.
Okay.
It's not just about achieving those initial goals. It's about developing a more resilient and sustainable approach to personal growth.
So we're talking about defeating procrastination, building momentum, increasing confidence.
Yeah.
Are there any other benefits that come to mind?
Absolutely. One of the biggest ones, I think, is that mini habits promote long-term change.
Long-term change.
In a way that, like, traditional goal setting often fails. Right. Because it's not about, you know, those sporadic bursts of effort.
Yeah, like that intense thing.
Like those...
It usually fizzles out.
Yeah, intense bursts of effort that fizzle out.
Right.
It's about creating sustainable habits. That become like a natural part of your life.
Yeah, part of your routine.
Right, exactly.
Oh, yeah. I like that.
It's like building a house brick by brick.
Oh, that's a good one.
Right. Yeah. Instead of trying to erect the whole structure in one go.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
So you mentioned earlier the mini habits mindset.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about what that is?
Yeah. So the mini habits mindset is about shifting away from that. All or nothing thinking. That can be so self-defeating.
Right.
It's about embracing imperfection.
Okay.
And acknowledging that even small steps forward are valuable.
Okay, so it's not about like beating myself up if I don't meditate for a full hour or if I miss a day.
Exactly.
It's about celebrating those small victories.
Celebrating those small victories and recognizing that 5 minutes of meditation is better than none.
Way better than none.
Right. So it's about shifting away from that all or nothing thinking.
Yeah, that can be so discouraging. So progress isn't always linear.
It's not.
There's going to be days where I do great.
You nail it.
And there's going to be days where...
And there will be days when you struggle.
I don't want to do it.
Right. But the key is to just keep showing up.
Keep showing up, no matter what.
Even when you don't feel like it.
Even when you really don't want to.
Right.
Right.
I get it.
And that's the beauty of MiniHabits.
Yeah.
They're so small.
They're so easy.
And manageable.
That even on your worst days, you can still do them.
You can still find a way to do them.
I like that.
Right.
And it's okay to...
And it's okay to adjust.
Make it a little harder or easier as needed.
Your mini-habit as needed.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you find it's too easy.
Okay.
Or too hard, tweak it.
Okay.
The goal is to find that sweet spot. Okay. So it feels both challenging and easy.
Challenging but easy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Challenging enough to be motivating.
Right.
But easy enough that you can do it consistently. Got it. So it's all about finding what works for you.
It is.
And being flexible.
It's about finding what works for you and being flexible.
Okay.
Right?
I like that.
The MiniHabits approach is about creating a system that supports your growth.
Supports your growth. Okay.
Not one that adds stress or pressure.
Not one that stresses you out more.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
This has been so eye-opening for me.
Awesome.
I feel like I have a whole new perspective on how I approach my goals.
That's awesome.
I'm realizing there are some areas in my life where I could really benefit from this.
I'm curious to hear what you've come up with.
Okay, so one thing I've been thinking about is meditation.
Meditation.
I know it's good for me.
Right.
But I always find excuses not to do it.
Yeah, we all do.
I think a big part of it is I just feel overwhelmed by the idea of meditating for a long time.
I totally get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy to get intimidated.
Yeah.
By those long meditation sessions, especially when you're starting out.
Right.
Yeah.
So my mini habit could be meditating for just 1 minute every day.
That's a great starting point.
1 minute.
Yeah.
That seems doable.
1 minute is enough to establish the habit of sitting down and focusing on your breath.
Okay.
And you might find that you actually want to extend those sessions as you get more comfortable.
I think I probably would.
Right. But for now.
Yeah, for now, it's just that 1 minute.
Yeah. The focus is on that 1 minute.
Yeah, just getting that habit.
Yeah, just building that consistency.
Yeah.
Removing the pressure to do more.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
And I've also been thinking about something that I used to love.
Okay.
But I've kind of let it slide.
Mm-hmm.
Creative writing.
Creative writing.
I used to write all the time.
Right.
Short stories, poems.
Yeah.
But
life gets in the way.
Life got in the way. I've been busy.
It does. Yeah, it's so easy to let those creative pursuits fall by the wayside.
Yeah.
Things get busy.
I think this would be a good...
Yeah, but the mini-habit approach...
way to get back into it.
Could be a good way to rekindle that passion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking
my
mini-habit could be writing for just 10 minutes a day.
That sounds perfect.
10 minutes. No pressure.
Yeah.
To produce anything.
Just let the words flow.
Yeah. Just free writing.
Yeah, just free writing.
Yeah.
Without judgment.
No judgment or expectation.
Right.
Yeah.
And who knows?
Yeah.
You might find those 10 minutes turning into 20 or 30.
Maybe.
As you get back into the groove.
Yeah, but even if it's just 10.
Right.
That's enough.
But even if it's just those 10 minutes,
yeah,
I think it'll make a big difference in feeling like you're making time for something you enjoy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so cool how adaptable this is.
Yeah. It's so adaptable.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be fitness or...
It's not limited to...
productivity.
Just fitness or productivity.
It can be anything.
It can be applied to any area of life where you want to see positive change.
It's like you're taking this big aspiration.
Right.
And breaking it down.
Into
this tiny step.
Yeah.
That you can't fail.
You can't fail.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And then just trusting.
And then trusting that
over time,
it's going to compound into something great.
Those small actions repeated consistently.
Yeah.
Yeah. They lead to amazing results.
Okay, so I know we've talked a lot today.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's still more to explore.
Yeah, we're going to have to come back and
we'll come back.
Talk about this more.
We'll delve into some more specifics and practical tips.
More practical tips.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. So we've been talking about how these mini habits work and like how we can start using them.
Yeah.
I think before we wrap up this deep dive, though, we should maybe talk about some of the challenges.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That people might face when they're trying to make these mini habits stick.
Even though the concept is simple,
yeah,
putting it into practice can still be tough.
Right. And I think one of the big ones is something we touched on earlier, which is like we tend to underestimate.
Yeah, it's easy to underestimate.
The power of these tiny little actions. It's like, is 1 minute of meditation really going to do anything?
Yeah, when we're so used to hearing about like massive changes overnight, that it's like, think about a single raindrop. It doesn't seem like much, but over time, consistent rainfall can carve out canyons.
Wow, that's a good analogy.
Right, so it's like,
those small actions repeated consistently, they have that power.
They can really make a difference.
To shape our lives.
Oh, okay, I like that.
Yeah.
So I think another challenge for people is staying motivated.
Motivation.
Especially when you don't see results immediately.
That's a big one.
Yeah, because we're so used to...
We live in a world of instant gratification.
Yeah.
So it's hard to...
We want everything now.
Yeah, we want it now.
Yeah.
So it's hard to stay the course when progress feels slow.
Right.
But it's like building lasting habits takes time.
It does.
Think of it like planting a seed.
Okay.
You don't see a giant tree sprout up overnight.
Right.
You have to nurture it consistently.
You got to water it.
Yeah, you got to water it.
Yeah.
Knowing that growth is happening underground.
Okay. I like that.
Right.
And that kind of reminds me of that mini habits mindset.
The mini habits mindset.
That you were talking about. Can you just like remind us what that is? Yeah. So the mini habits mindset.
Okay.
It's all about letting go of perfectionism.
Okay.
And embracing like a more compassionate approach to personal growth.
So
it's about celebrating those small wins. And focusing on consistency over intensity.
So like instead of beating myself up for not meditating for an hour, I can just be happy that I meditated for 5 minutes.
Exactly. Yep. It's about shifting away from that all or nothing thinking.
Right. That can be so discouraging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So remember, progress isn't always linear.
It's not.
You'll have good days and bad days.
Up and downs.
Ups and downs.
Yeah.
But the key is to just keep showing up.
Keep showing up.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Even when you don't feel like it.
Even when you don't want to.
And that's what makes this so great.
And that's what's so great about mini habits.
Yeah, because they're so small.
They're so tiny.
You can do them even on those bad days.
Even on your toughest days.
Yeah.
You can find a way.
To do them.
And if you need to.
And remember,
this is a little easier.
It's okay to adjust your mini habit.
Yeah.
If you need to.
Okay.
If it's too easy or too hard.
Tweak it.
Yeah. The goal is to find that sweet spot.
That perfect spot.
Yeah. Yeah. Where it feels challenging but doable.
Challenging but doable. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
So it's about finding what works for me.
It is.
And being flexible.
Yeah. Right.
This has been great. I've learned so much about mini habits.
That's great.
I feel like I can really use this
to
reach my goals.
I'm glad. So any final words of wisdom?
Sure.
For our listeners out there?
The power of mini habits is in their simplicity and their sustainability. They're a tool that anyone can use to create positive change.
Right.
So just think about one small, ridiculously easy step.
One small step.
You can take today.
Okay.
That will move you closer to your goal. Remember, even the tiniest actions repeated consistently can lead to amazing results.
So start small, stay consistent.
Exactly.
Celebrate those little wins.
Celebrate those wins.
That's what it's all about.
That's the mini habits mantra.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into mini habits.